speaking, who is going to be the moderator, is Mr. Lloyd Machacha. And with me, we have got Advocate Melissa Dina sitting to my far left, who is also part of the group. And we have got Miss Agnes Chikondo, who is going to read out our petition, why we are seated here as a group of concerned citizens. So by way of introduction, ladies and gentlemen, we as the citizens, we have noted with concern the damning post-election report that was issued by the SADC Election Observer Mission, which was led by Dr. Mumba. It is from this background, ladies and gentlemen, that we wish to register our displeasure on the CM report, which is against Zimbabwe, due to a number of reasons. And some of the reasons being that it's in direct violation of our laws and also in breach of the said SADC principles and guidelines for governing democratic elections. So in our view as citizens, we view this report as a way of machinations trying to bend and overturn the will of the people who voted on the 23rd and 24th of August 2023. So we are therefore inviting all citizens of Zimbabwe sharing the same view with us to come on board to try and support this cause. The cause is we want to petition SADC on the post-election that we just recently had. And we are registering our displeasure to SADC, and the appeal is to say, SADC, this report is violating the principles that establish SADC, is violating the laws of Zimbabwe, which should be abided by all observer missions that did observe our elections. So we'll be sending out this petition online and other platforms, which Advocate will also elaborate on the way forward. We would want to garner a number of signatures with a target of around 200,000 signatures that will accompany this report to SADC. So I will not want to go deeper into the issues, ladies and gentlemen, but allow us to perhaps maybe have the petition read by Miss Agnes Chikondo. It's once done, then Advocate Dina will then give us the way forward. So I'll take this opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, to allow Ms. Chikondo to take us through the petition.
Thank you, sir. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, once again. We as citizens of Zimbabwe, we have this statement today, and we are launching this petition on this very day. And I read, it's a letter which is addressed to the chairperson of the SADC, from us, the citizens of Zimbabwe, and we've got our attention to the President, Lorenzo. It reads, appeal for SADC to throw away the SADC Election Observer Mission report on Zimbabwe's elections. Your Excellency, we, the citizens of Zimbabwe, are concerned with the partial and inherent illegal regime change tone of the SADC Election Observer Mission SIOM's preliminary and final reports released by the mission's chairperson, Dr. Mumba. The report is not an accurate and fair assessment of the elections held in Zimbabwe on the 23rd and 24th of August 2023. It is rather a reflection, Your Excellency, of the ulterior agenda and of illegal regime change of the foreign forces behind the authors of the report who were unnerved by the ZANU-PF victory. As a matter of fact, ZANU-PF's victory had long been projected by independent opinion poll surveys such as the Afrobarometer and the US-based credit ratings agency, Fitch Solutions, among others. We particularly note, Your Excellency, that the SIOM assessment was very subjective, while the SADC Election Observer Code of Conduct, Article 10.1.6 stipulates that observers should base all reports and conclusions on well-documented, factual and verifiable evidence. The SIOM team scarcely traveled to conduct their work in ZANU-PF strongholds, most of which are in rural areas. They concentrated in urban centers, particularly in Harare and Bulawayo, which are well-known opposition citizens' coalition for change strongholds. The teams also extensively and almost exclusively interfaced with the ZANU-PF and anti-government entities such as Western-funded non-state actors, as well as other hostile Western agencies seeking regime change in Zimbabwe. There was no effort to desire to verify the information provided by the opposition and their allied forces. Your Excellency, the SIOM took the propaganda of these entities as the biblical truth and used it as the cornerstone of its preliminary and final reports. Whilst the SADC EOCOC Article 10.1.1 provides that observers should comply with all national laws and regulations of the host country, the SIOM's preliminary and final reports questioned laws and legislative processes of a sovereign country. It is not within the remit of foreign election observer missions to question laws and legislative processes of a sovereign nation, as the SIOM did in its preliminary and final reports. The final report, Your Excellency, makes unverified claims that ZEC is not independent because 4 of its commissioners are allegedly related to high-ranking ZANU-PF officials. This, of course, is based on the colonial Eurocentric view that Africans, being primitive, have no independent ideas or views and are slaves of their elders, fellow tribesmen and chiefs, whereas in the West, the son holds views independent of his parents. In Africa, a person is incapable of independent thoughts. Your Excellency, election observers are supposed to engage all stakeholders and abstain from interrogating the country's laws and institutions on the basis of hearsay. SADC EOCOC Articles 10.1.7 allows observers to seek response from the person or organization concerned before treating any unsubstantiated allegations as valid. In this regard, the SIOM report was supposed to capture the observers witnessed and not what malcontents grieve about without verifying. Dr. Mumba's persona, Your Excellency, is another matter of concern to us citizens. Our understanding, Your Excellency, is that SADC Election Observer Profile Article 14.3K provides that observers should have no criminal records. But Dr. Mumba headed the SIOM. Yet, according to the East Africa Times of Zambia, he was convicted by the Zambian Magistrate Court in 2018 for abuse of office when he was Zambia's High Commissioner to Canada in 2010. Separately, SADC COC Article 10.1.5 states that an observer should disclose to relevant SADC structures any relationship that could lead to conflict of interest in observation and assessment of election processes. But Dr. Mumba is a long-time political opponent of ZANU-PF and apologist of the CCC since the days of the latter was known as the MDC under the leadership of the late Morgan Tsvangirai. Furthermore, Dr. Mumba and CCC leader Mr. Nelson Chamisa have a religious bond cemented by their pastoral duties under Pentecostal movement churches. Your Excellency, Zimbabwe has an array of Christian churches and other religious movements, some of which Mr. Chamisa often find offensive because of his Pentecostal dogma. The media reports that Dr. Mumba accompanied Mr. Chamisa to cast his vote, and Mr. Chamisa addressed a group of voters at the polling station in violation of our electoral laws. Surprisingly, this was not captured in the SIOM report. Your Excellency, the SIOM's reports are mute on the issue of illegal Western sanctions as a disruptive force in Zimbabwe's political, economic, and social processes. This is out of sync with the SADC position and equivocal solutions on the issue of illegal sanctions on Zimbabwe. We reiterate that it is those seeking sanctions on the government of Zimbabwe and ZANU-PF to cause regime change who are behind this report. The first SIOM report would not have downplayed the impact on sanctions on the electoral playing field. The CCC and its backers were threatening increased sanctions during the campaign unless citizens voted out ZANU-PF, and this tilts the political playing field. By means of this petition, we, the citizens, appeal to SADC to throw away the SIOM report on the Zimbabwe's 23 and 24 August 2023 harmonized elections with the contempt it deserves. In fact, the SIOM report is a neo-colonial instrument that tries to reverse the credible vote of the people of Zimbabwe. We further appeal to like-minded Zimbabweans to support this initiative by signing the petition that, going forward, we will circulate online and through hard copies. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This is the position of us as a group of concerned citizens, and we are also calling other like-minded Zimbabweans who support this cause and believe in the cause to come on board. But however, we may want to preempt where we are going in terms of the direction that we are taking as the initiators of this very important petition. Would allow Advocate Melissa Dina to just elaborate the direction that we are taking from now going forward.
Thank you very much, Mr. Machacha, and thank you, Madam Chikondo. Ladies and gentlemen, we the people say no to a rerun. And we the people say we voted. Our vote must be respected. We had elections, there was free participation, the elections were free, fair and credible, and as such we embrace and we are willing to move forward with our elected officials and leaders. We the people say no to a transitional government, and we the people say no to Dr. Mumba's report. This report is contrary to the SADC principles and guidelines, contravening the democratic elections. This report, ladies and gentlemen, is is a machination of the neo-colonial instrument to overturn the ruling party. And as such, we are saying what then becomes the way forward. The way forward is this: we are targeting 200,000 signatures, and we are inviting like-minded citizens of Zimbabwe to append their signatures to our petitions. We have a two-pronged approach in order to garner these signatures. We are going to create an online platform in which individuals who will not be able to meet can append their signatures, and we are rolling out an outreach program in which we are going to travel to all the 10 provinces of Zimbabwe. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2 weeks' time, we shall be traveling to Botswana, the SADC headquarters, to lodge our petition against Dr. Mumba's report. And in this regard, we say no to a re-election. Thank you.
Thank you, Advocate Dina. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why we've called you here, to send this message, and also you being the interface between us, the citizens, and the greater world out there. Please convey this message. So at this point in time, ladies and gentlemen, we would want to entertain questions related to our presser here.
We would also like to add that we shall avail ourselves in different media platforms to also provide further information. But in the meantime, in order to seek clarity on our petition and on the way forward, we're inviting you, ladies and gentlemen, to be able to ask different questions. And if we have in this room like-minded journalists, you are free to append your signatures to our petition as soon as we are done with this presser. Thank you.
Okay. So we'll take 3 hands in a round, and then we'll then respond. Then we'll go to the next round. I see a hand here. Then you say after him.
Good morning.
Morning.
I just wanted to find out if you are not taking the nation back. I thought everyone else is moved on. Are you not taking us back to the election mode? And what is the objective of the petition?
Okay.
Then we'll take the second one. We'll then.
Okay.
Thank you. So I want to ask, what criteria will we use to select these 200,000 signatures that will accompany your petition to sign? Because it will not be surprising if we find the 200,000 signatures are those of supporters of the current leader. You may clarify on that. I would appreciate.
Okay, I see there are 2 questions. So the approach that we are going to do, we are, as a group of citizens, the conveners of this very important petition, we are going to try and attempt to answer the questions in relation to what has been asked. Perhaps we'll start with Madam Chikondo. What's your take, I think, on the first question?
On the first question, ladies and gentlemen, we are not taking the country back. Actually, we are taking it forward. Why? Because there are some groups of people who are actually calling for a rerun, and that one will be taking the country back. We want to acknowledge what we voted for and want to move forward. We don't have the resources, we are affected by sanctions, and actually a rerun will be taking us back. But when we are having the officials that we have right now, then we go forward. There is re-engagement. We've got the economy to take care of. So why rerun? That's taking us back. I hope you are answered, sir.
To add on to what Madam Chikondo said, we have different lobby groups that are now lobbying for a transitional government and for a rerun. And we are saying that there is no national crisis in Zimbabwe. We are saying we voted and we have a leader in the country. We are saying we want to move forward with the situation as it is. And why we want the report to be disregarded and to be thrown away is that there are various sentiments in the report which undermine the sovereignty of Zimbabwe. We all know that at the foundation of any nation is its sovereignty, and as such, we cannot accept the sovereignty of our country being undermined, and we cannot remain silent due to that.
Thank you. So, just weighing in on what my colleagues have elaborated, ladies and gentlemen, you may be aware in terms of the processes of SADC after the election, that at the end of the election period, they produced their preliminary report, which was read by Dr. Mumba. This is the report that Dr. Mumba produced. And now they have got a period of 30 days after the conclusion of the elections to produce their final report, which we heard they have done. And perhaps you then look again at the processes that happen within SADC itself, where that report is going to be, that has been tabled, is going to be tabled at the full summit and then accepted as a position. So as the concerned citizens, we are seeing this drive to try and reverse the people's will. People have voted and the outcome should be respected. In any fact, any attempt to try and reverse the people's will, if you look at the SADC guidelines, and to be more specific, Article 4.1.12 is very clear on what is supposed to be done. Any attempts to try and discredit a lawfully declared outcome is illegal. That's the mandate of our credible institutions. Go and look at the guidelines in terms of the principles governing democratic elections, and on Article or Paragraph 4.1.12 is very clear on that. So we wouldn't allow a process of people trying to reverse the will of the people, violating even our own laws. When should elections be done and at what point? That's what we can say to that particular point. There is the second question, that what criteria are you going to use to try and garner these signatures? Is it not going to be biased in terms of the ruling parties, what supporters? I think if you have heard what we have submitted earlier on regarding to your question, we're a group of Zimbabweans. We are coming in our individual capacity to try and call for a cause which we believe is in the nation's interest. So we are calling all like-minded Zimbabweans to come and append signatures on this petition, or on this annexure which is going to accompany the petition to SADC. That's particularly, we are not targeting the supporters of which particular party. We are aggressively accepting all signatures to accompany this petition to SADC as elaborated by my colleagues here. We can take further questions, if any. Oh. Yes, sir.
I would like to ask you, how can we know that you're not biased in favor of any political party?
Well, we do not have only SADC who raise the red flags. We have UN, we have Kum. So why then do you say SADC is targeting regime?
Okay. So, advocate, will start.
To answer the first question, how do you know that you're not biased? Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to say that we are definitely not biased. We are citizens of Zimbabwe who are here in our individual capacities, concerned about the damning report against our country, Zimbabwe. We are patriotic and we are willing to defend the sovereignty of our nation. Any concerned citizen of Zimbabwe is welcome to come on board, and any like-minded citizen of Zimbabwe is also willing to come on board, because this is not about any political party. This is about our country, Zimbabwe, our nation, Zimbabwe, and our sovereignty, and also the future of our country, and how the future generations are going to view Zimbabwean elections. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think that has been elaborated. But there's the second question, which was asked to say, why are you targeting SADC of all the observers? I think if you look at the SADC principles and guidelines governing democratic elections in the SADC region, you would understand why we are primarily interested in SADC. SADC has a very, very important part in Zimbabwe's history. It is SADC which plays a very, very important part for us to be where we are today, which can date back to the time of independence. SADC, by its place, it has an influence of what happens here. So basically, if you look at a report that is produced by SADC under the guise of adhering to the SADC principles and guidelines governing democratic elections, you would agree with me, my brother, that the report by Dr. Mumba, as elaborated by my sister here, it violates a number of the clauses within the guidelines. And we have identified quite a number of them in as far as how it is violated. So we are primarily targeting SADC because SADC's processes are going to influence the future of this country, should there be anything that to talk about. So we as the citizens, we are saying, before SADC does that, let it look at the report objectively without taking any particular side. Is it far-fetched that the report was not supported in terms of credible documentary evidence as required by the Code of Conduct governing democratic elections, that is 10.1.6? Is it a lie that the head of the SADC team was headed by someone with a criminal report, a criminal record, I mean to say, violating specifically article or paragraph 14.1, 14.1. What the specific one is? The very specific is 14.3.k of the guidelines. It's very clear that the profile of a person who is supposed to be leading this delegation should not have a criminal record. Dr. Mumba has. He was convicted by the courts in Zambia. It is not Zimbabwean courts. Perhaps if it were Zimbabwean courts, you'd be saying we are maybe questioning something else. But we are looking at a credible system in Zambia, which is lawfully respected and which is against the same guidelines and principles. That is primarily. But if you look at again from the perspective of the other report, the only report we can acknowledge, which was verbatim in terms of its contents, was the EU report. If you look at the EU report, compared with the SADC report, it's word for word. But other observers, take them, we can put them. We are prepared to have another presser if need be, to table all the reports there, and you see the language that was used by the Commonwealth, but other independent observers, the African Union. It was quite clear. It's not is what the SADC did and the EU, but we are primarily focused on SADC because there are processes that are happening within the SADC. And as you are aware again, there are also people who are calling the SADC to intervene. They have never called in the EU, neither did they call in the UN, but they called the SADC. Why the SADC is deliberate. Thank you.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, yes.
And only to add there, if you take a look at our petition, we have copied it to the African Union, to the European Union, to the United Nations. So I think you are partly answered there.
Okay.
So let's put the SADC reports aside. Do you appreciate that there were inconsistencies in the electoral process that led to the formation of this government? That was confirmed by other electoral observer missions and local media. What's your take on the electoral process that led to this government? We are putting aside the SADC report, but what's your observation on the electoral process?
Okay. I'll take it. My colleagues will also weigh. So, one thing that we need to be aware as members of the media is the importance of this document called the Constitution of Zimbabwe. We are talking about constitutionality here, and what we are challenging as the citizens is these issues where we want to challenge constitutional processes that have taken place in our jurisdiction. Inconsistencies I perhaps, and to be very particular, issues that were noted, they came from, I understand, most prominently the SADC and others trying to elaborate or exacerbate what the SADC yet put on position. There were issues to do with the delimitation report. I think we are all aware that when a process has been placed before a court and the court presides on it and make a determination, it brings an end to litigation. How then do you then go on one side and claim inconsistencies? Because the issues delimited the process, this, that, but that was placed before the court. The court ruled and the position stands. Go and look at the SADC report and even other reports or the so-called inconsistencies that you are alluding to. Where are they emanating from? It's very clear. The electoral laws of this country were complied with. And there is no any lawful position that has been taken contrary to the standing position. So everything, I wouldn't agree with you totally to the effect that there are inconsistencies. In as far as the processes are concerned, there are consistencies. Look at it this way. The noise which is coming on board is around the elections, around the highest office, the president. But there is no noise on other lower level governance structures.
Yeah.
Local authority, people have accepted the outcome. The House of National Assembly, people have accepted the result. Now, why the president? Yet you accept all these other, but the same process that governed all the process was done in broad daylight. All of us voted, including you. Can we honestly talk of inconsistencies at this point? And gravely, the most grave thing is the SADC report and even other reports are trying to challenge our laws. I'll give a very good example, my brother. There was the issue to do with the electronic voters roll, which was being questioned. It's very clear that my reading in terms of the position that was taken by SEC, that we cannot divulge in terms of avail this, what do you call it, the electronic voters roll, on the basis that it contains information which cannot be disclosed, biometric information, personalized information, which will be in violation of our law, the Cyber and Data Protection Act in particular. And you'd see someone trying to question that. That's a law. But again, look at it in terms of even the constitution that they were trying to cite. If you look at section 86, and to be specific, subsection 2, it's very clear that the rights have got limitations. And it is allowed for as long as the rights are limited by a law of general application. The Cyber and Data Protection Act is a law of general application. So who are we then to question this process? Let's gather our facts correctly and then challenge with substance.
Yes.
Not just to throw tantrums on a credible process which meets every nitty-gritty in as far as elections are concerned. Was there compliance in terms of the substantive provisions of our Constitution in the Electoral Act? And even the Electoral Code of Conduct, which these political parties signed, there was substantial compliance. How then do we then try and look at what I would call it, small issues that you may not eliminate everything in as far as the process is concerned, but substantially, this election, I would submit, ladies and gentlemen, that it is very credible and there are no inconsistencies that we can that can set aside and even call for this other, you call it a rerun.
Yes.
Imagine.
Yes. And also what we're saying is that we're looking at the wholesome electoral process in Zimbabwe. And we're saying that in Zimbabwe, we have a constitution, which is the supreme law. And this election was in accordance with this supreme law. We have section 67, subsection 3, which says, subject to this constitution, every Zimbabwean citizen who is of over 18 years of age has the right to vote in all the elections and referendums to which this constitution or any other law applies. And the same section 67, also says that all the people of Zimbabwe are liable to participate in the election. And we see that there was generally a peaceful and calm and violent-free atmosphere during the elections. There was no intimidation, there was no inducement of fear, there was no coercion. So we're looking at the wholesome process and we're saying that there were no inconsistencies. Rather, this election was free, fair, and no one can take away its credibility. Thank you.
Although I feel like you did not answer me well. My sorry about the reflect. Who are you? What are you coming from? And where? And in response to people who are saying you are just there backing for your server, what's your response?
Okay.
I believe we answered the question just like that, but I believe you say that you came in late. And like what we said, we are concerned citizens of Zimbabwe and we are here in our individual capacity. Having seen an injustice done to our country, we cannot remain silent on this damning report. That is why we are appealing and petitioning that this report be disregarded and be thrown away, as it undermines our sovereignty as a nation and as a people. And it can have consequences even on the future elections of Zimbabwe.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, my brother, I just want to show you something. The malice which is carried in the Mumba report. And if you have got the report with you, if you look at page 11 of the report, and to be specific, paragraph I, which speaks to the postal vote controversy. Postal vote controversy. And if you look at what the Mumba, it's a very small paragraph. I want to read it to you, and I want to show you glaring inconsistencies in terms of non-compliance with the SADC principles and guidelines. Mumba report says there was considerable concern from the opposition that postal voting by officers of the Zimbabwe Republic Police was compromised as alleged by the alleged coerced voting. There were allegations that police officers undertaking postal voting were coerced to vote in a particular way. Look at this. The entire SADC report is basing its conclusions on allegations. Allegations. Code of conduct for SADC election observers, to be specific, paragraph 10.1.6 provides as follows. The election observer mission shall, there is no option here, it shall base all reports and conclusions on well-documented, factual, and verifiable evidence from a multiple number of credible sources, as well as their own witness account. They submit a report based on mere allegations. And honestly, we allow that report to stand as citizen, we'll be judged. History will judge us. We cannot stand as citizens and look at that. And we are coming, like what advocate is saying, we are coming in our individual capacity to mobilize our fellow citizens to rise and sign this petition, so that when we submit this petition as per the address by the advocate, we are going to be having enough signatures that Zimbabwe is speaking. People are not happy with anyone who is trying to subvert or to change what has been decided. And in any fact, failure to accept the results of elections that have been officially declared is actually in violation of the principles of governing democratic elections. And I take you to paragraph 4, the principles for conducting democratic elections, and to be specific, Article 4.1.12, which says, the member state shall ensure the acceptance of election results by all election stakeholders as proclaimed to have been free, fair, transparent, credible, and peaceful by the competent and independent national electoral authority in accordance with the respective laws. Honestly, ladies and gentlemen, the guidelines are clear. Any action trying to change what the guidelines are saying is perhaps misplaced. That's our position as citizens. So I think we have taken a number of questions, and would want to thank you, the members of the media. We will be, like what the advocate have said, we will be perhaps continuing with the various initiatives to try and sell this very important message to our colleagues out there. And we are also, as you can see, we are a group. All this, what you can see, is a contribution from the three of us. We would want to do more in terms of what we are doing here. So, of course, within the limit of our resources, that's why you heard the advocate saying, maybe in 2 weeks' time, we are going to be able to have resourced to go and file the petition in SADC. And after the filing, we are definitely going to invite you so that we will then avail the full petition to you as well as any other issues. So for now, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of our presser, and those that subscribe to the notion as us can come and append their signatures. And of course, we are starting the process. We start with Madam Chikondo.
Thank you.
So this is our signature book, ladies and gentlemen. We have already signed. Those that are interested in signing, you are free just to come and just append your signature as we start the nationwide campaign to garner the 200,000 signatures.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We've reached the end of the press.
Thank you.